Do not patent your problems and resist the urge to copyright critical thoughts. Do not put trademarks on your trouble, because that time is passing. If you are listening to me now, you call this message into your being. You are ready to receive this message. You see, oftentimes we think that what people say to us affects us more than what we say to us. So, how do you know that you have a subconscious belief that what people say affects you significantly more than what you say to you affects you? When someone is triggering us, and maybe they are projecting a frustration that they feel inside, and maybe we just so happen to be around and have said something that rubbed them when they were already sore. Okay, it might have rubbed them the wrong way, and they probably were already wounded about something before you had an interaction with them. This is likely because we're being called to shed ancient trauma right now. And I talk about this in a 3D Matrix Detox course, where I explain to you the collective harmonic frequency and the ways that we're being called to heal these ancient traumas in our bloodlines and connected to our past lives. You see, a soul is an energy that cannot be destroyed. However, it can be fragmented into remnants. And part of the spiritual awakening is recalling these parts of yourself. In order for us to do this, we must isolate the areas where we are giving our power away and the areas where it's time for us to empower ourselves. So if you tend to get easily defensive with people, there's a subconscious belief that what's happening outside of you involving other people is a threat, and somehow it's going to ruin whatever it is that you are desiring to experience, create, and have in life. See, getting threatened and going into fight typically is the one that's very destructive to all parties involved. Because in this state of feeling threatened, you become defensive and you will attack anybody. It doesn't matter who they are. And this is when we have those moments where later on we think about it and we're like, you know what, maybe I was a little harsh, or maybe I was a little overreactive, or did I really have to say that the way that I did? And so if you find yourself getting triggered like this, the first thing I want to say to you is you don't have to put a trademark on that trouble, because it's not your fault. All of us are victims to this narcissistic paradigm in some way. And when I say victims, I'm not saying that you benefit from identifying as a victim, but it does benefit us to identify the areas where we were victimized that led to the way we behave and react now. That helps you to relieve yourself of areas where maybe you feel guilt because you do things that you feel like you shouldn't do, or say things you feel like you shouldn't say. And shouldn't is a key word here, because when you're using these words with yourself and your internal talk, is always going to lead. Always is a huge word. I know. I don't believe in black and white thinking, but in this area, from my experience, whenever I think about what I should have did or shouldn't have did, and I ruminate on it, it turns into guilt and shame and sometimes even resentment and depression. Because there is an aspect of all of us that doesn't want to cause trouble for people or ourselves. But there is also an aspect of us that is wounded and reacts and doesn't quite know how to navigate situations that may be upsetting to that previous wound. And again, this wound may not be from this lifetime. You don't have to know what you did in your past life. Just know that some of the things that might be coming up for you now are not connected to this lifetime. That helps you to free yourself from trying to connect all of the dots and figure out where every action was created by a situation. Now, in using the OBEBE strategy that I talk about, you're learning to just observe and not try to investigate every single trigger, every single thought, every single feeling that comes up. So what happens is, once we repeat something undesirable over and over again, then that groove is imprinted in your brain. And our brain has the ability to create highways. So the more that you take that route, the more that route would be the first one available to you. So you won't see that there's a train going another way on some different tracks that's going to lead you somewhere else. You won't even notice it unless you practice putting space in the times that you are triggered, and begin to just observe, breathe, pause, and slow down. Sometimes we are so quick to respond to anything that's externally upsetting us, we bypass our wise mind. The wise mind don't even come online for you because you've already activated the defensive mechanism. And so you're probably thinking of what you're going to say. And sometimes maybe you don't think, you just react. It's just some stuff that you find it difficult to take that pause and not respond. But when you don't respond in a wise way, you're putting a trademark on your triggers. You're owning the trouble that comes with those triggers. You're saying, this is mine. This is connected to my train of thought, my train of the way I behave, and that's what I'm going to do. And once you do that, the next stop will not be self-worthville. The next stop will probably be resentmentville, guiltville, shameville. And later, you wonder what you could have done different. And this is the purpose in practicing observing these emotions and the thoughts that accompany them. Now, when it comes to the problems that we patent, right? A patent is basically taking ownership of either how something functions or the design of that. Well, I just want to free you for a moment from something that definitely affects all of us, and that's problems. Problems is just a side effect of life. It's not something that you have to always feel like you're creating. Some problems, you're not creating them, and some you are. Some problems is a co-creation of 2 or 3 people or even a group. Some problems is co-created by your whole bloodline, because maybe you have a gene that has been turned on by trauma, and you tend to respond in a similar way as other people in your bloodline. So there are different types of problems that are created in various ways, but it doesn't really benefit us to get stuck in ruminating about the problems we feel like we cause. One thing that you can do in this time that we are being called to a higher consciousness is to ask yourself, how does me taking ownership of this problem benefit me? And if taking ownership of whatever problem occurred benefits you, then you stay on that train and you continue to ride on those tracks, because it's going to take you to a space of accountability, and accountability combined with your awareness gives us an opportunity to create alchemy around that problem. And this is when you learn how to turn your shadows into superpowers. The superpowers are the spiritual abilities, the spiritual perceptions and realizations that we obtain when we use the A team that we talk about here in the new verse, which is awareness, acceptance, and the third one is alchemy. And that's when you learn how to work with it. But if someone is trying to blame a problem on you and you truly do not feel like it was something that you created, you don't have to accept the pattern, okay? You don't have to. You do not have to trademark that trouble, okay? So how do you do that in a way that's effective and hopefully it's not going to cause drama? Well, the first thing, you don't have to try to prove the other person wrong. If you're being blamed for something that you clearly did not do, or something that you feel like is being projected onto you because whoever else is involved doesn't want to be accountable for whatever occurred, your power is in how you respond. Your power is not found in proving that that person is wrong. How is it going to benefit you to prove that person wrong? This is always the first question that I ask myself, and I wanted to share this with you. How will it benefit me to prove this person is wrong for what they are accusing me of doing? Now, if you can't find a benefit in doing that, why should you, let's not do should, this is edited in real time, why would you take ownership of that and trademark that trouble? Why would you add your 2 cents? Why would you actually go to court and pursue the case and you truly feel like you are not guilty? If you're innocent, you will just wash your hands of it and be done with it and say, it's okay. All right. It's okay that you feel that I did that. Okay. And you can walk away. You don't have to engage. It is the engagement and how we're engaging and why we're engaging that determines what we create in our life. It is not what people say to us that determines what we create in our life. So I'm giving you your power back today by letting you know that there is no thing, no one that can change your destination by what they say to you or about you. It is only your engagement with what was said to you or about you that determines the route in which you are traveling. Just breathe that one in for a moment. What a relief. What a relief. And this didn't require you to spend any money. This didn't require you to do anything but listen to the power of these words. It will benefit all of us right now to accept the fact that what I say about myself inside of my own auditorium, which is my head. Give me a second. Now, let me finish this thought. So imagine that your head is an auditorium, your mind is an auditorium, and that auditorium is so infinite, so huge, that it can echo anything that was ever said to you by anyone. Even if you don't remember, the echoes are held within certain chambers of this auditorium. This auditorium consists of many different areas and parts. Now, in this auditorium, you are center stage. Okay, this is your mind. However, in some cases, some of the voices that you hear, and this is what we call thoughts, they actually aren't yours. But because you probably cannot see who's speaking, this is the stream of consciousness, the thoughts that you may be having come into your mind. You take ownership of everything you hear inside your mind because you cannot see that there are other people who left their critical voices in your auditorium. Just think about that for a moment. Just in your conscious mind alone, the things that have been said to you, some of them painful. I'm sure that you can think of some right now. There are at least 1,000 others to every one that you can name that you completely forgot about, but that echo is somewhere in that auditorium. And sometimes we take ownership and we put a stamp of approval. We copyright critical dialogue that's happening in the auditorium because we don't know that we actually have a choice to choose which thoughts we copyright as our own. Now, this is a little game that I play inside of my mind to help me isolate what's beneficial and what isn't. So, inside of this auditorium, you have some people who are hiding behind masks. Okay? These are the faces that are actually different bits and pieces of what we have absorbed and internalized throughout our lifetime. So let's just say you hear a voice criticizing the way that you dress inside your mind. Now, that it could be coming from many different places. But maybe there's one specific person in your life that has been that critical person outside of you. You're going to assign that person's face to that thought. And this is a subconscious thing. You are completely unconscious, unaware that this is happening. We may start to think that this person is talking about us. If you happen to be in the same room or the workplace or the classroom or just your house with this person, you may start to think that this person is thinking that what you have on looks terrible. Maybe this person is, but maybe this person isn't. Maybe you're just dealing with an echo inside of the auditorium. Do you benefit from copywriting that critical voice, adding a face to it, taking ownership of it, which leads to you feeling like that person is doing something to hurt you? And they're the reason why you're not happy. They're the reason why you're frustrated. They're the reason why you're not achieving your goals. This is nothing to feel guilty about. In my experience, most humans do this. Our mind is a quantum computer, and for those of us who have experienced trauma, oftentimes there are compartments that are being opened as we are doing this soul work and as we are being astrologically triggered to heal these core wounds that we cannot assign a face to. So we just internalize it and own it as being a part of who we are. We take ownership over, maybe somebody said to you, you need to lose weight. And your defense was, well, I like being this way. But maybe you really don't. And so you take ownership of, I like being this way. You copyright it. It's your trademark. It's your catchphrase. But you really don't feel that way. You really would like to lose weight. You're just not sure where to start. Or maybe you've tried and wasn't successful in the past. This is the way a quantum computer works. There's infinite amount of information and infinite amount of possibilities based on that information, and infinite amount of ways we can access this information to allow it to manifest in our lives. Not only is our mind a quantum computer holding all of these experiences, even from past lives. I'm saying that to release a lot of us from the karmic debt that we feel from past lives, because there are some things that we did not complete in past lives, and maybe those thoughts are coming up from something that you experienced prior to your memory of this lifetime. By us resisting the urge to allow our inner critics to take our power away, because really they're not taking it, we really are giving it away, right? So you can kind of play this game in your mind and look at the inner critic as someone running up out of what's supposed to be the audience and coming up on the stage, taking a microphone, and now the sound system, which is your thoughts, is circulating what they have to say. You can take the mic back. And each and every time the inner critic starts to just speak things that do not feel good to you, it doesn't matter if it's true or not. In this stage of healing, what matters most is what we do with the data. You can respond to it in a loving way. You can take the mic back and say, thank you for that. Thank you for that. I have heard that thought over and over again, and I'm going to move on to something else that is a priority, which is my sanity, my serenity, right? And let's talk about that. And just change the subject right inside of your mind. Switch subjects. Because we are dropping a lot of the mask, the voices are starting to mingle, and so it's kind of hard to tell who's who and what's what and what's coming from where. And this is the benefit in just observing, especially if you tend to be an obsessive thinker. Just very ethereal in your head all the time. I'm an air sign, so yes, I am oftentimes lost in my mind. But if you're going to get lost in there, you could at least make sure that the microphone is in your hand, right? And the flashlight, so that you could start shining some light on some of these voices, and decide whether or not you're going to let them speak. Because you don't have to let them come up on the stage and speak. As soon as you hear the, what do they call them, hecklers in the crowd, you can choose not to let them speak. And the more you practice this, the better you get at it. I was inspired to share this intuitive message today as I have been going through another death process of shedding what no longer serves, which is why I posted the blog about shedding layers of skin like a snake. We are yet to see what's beneath, but when you shed that skin, the new skin is softer, so you are more easily affected by energy. And being an empath myself allows me to actually feel the awakening happening collectively and personally, and that can sometimes be overwhelming. By learning how to be with myself, even in the moments where I feel like I am a hot mess, I'm telling you, you might feel inspired and you might feel like this is such a great message, it's right on time. But I have moments, and in these moments, I make absolutely no sense. And not only am I not making sense, I have moments where I just beat up on myself. And some people may not believe this, but before I recorded this message, I doubted whether or not I would be able to actually create rapport and communicate this in the way my heart is intending. I was sitting and listening to Lisa Nichols, one of my favorite people to listen to when I'm being a hot mess, you know, because sometimes you can call another speaker up on the stage. It's your auditorium, right? You can switch channels. You can think about whatever you want to think about, and if you cannot switch the channel internally, then you call up a friend. So I called up Lisa Nichols in my mind, of course. So she popped up on my YouTube, actually, so I'm listening to the video, and I'm challenging these voices. And so, yes, there is this small crowd inside my mind telling me, you need to wait, you're not ready to do the message for today, your vibration isn't high enough, the octave isn't pure enough. I have all of these perfectionism critics, and they have many faces, but I'm not taking ownership of any of them because it's not going to benefit me to do so. As I'm listening to Lisa, I'm saying to myself, this conversation that she's having, that we're having in my mind, is supposed to be happening in my world, in the physical form. And I am opening my heart to be that point of light for others, to be a guide through these dark times. And when I say dark times, I'm not judging it as bad, because dark doesn't mean bad in the new verse. Dark can mean many things. Dark represents the subconscious, the unknown, the hidden things that sabotage our lives. Darkness can represent the areas where we have not ever been before, areas of uncertainty, areas where we don't have clarity and we're unsure about what to do next. Darkness is also the place where babies grow. Darkness is where our seeds are able to form their first sprouts, to become plants that sustain life. Darkness is life-sustaining. Darkness is the remedy to chaos. Yes, it is. As we are in this very Gemini dual energy, we are being given an opportunity to release ownership of things that no longer serve us and are no longer a part of the journey to where we are going and what we are becoming. Your locomotive, let's talk about it. It's based on your train of thoughts, and you can switch it up when you need to. You can switch it up when you want to. And by switching it up, you change the destination. Learning to drive your thoughts in a way that fuel feelings of satisfaction, feelings of gratitude, feelings of appreciation, feelings of radical acceptance at whatever is showing up in our lives, that ultimately is the place where any miracle your heart is desiring can happen. And for many of us who are survivors of narcissistic abuse and trauma, getting to that space seems difficult. But difficult does not mean impossible. And I believe that the crazy things that have happened in our life, in which are occurring in our world, can actually benefit us by checking our motives and intentions, observing what is, accepting what is, and surrendering to Spirit, touching our hearts with clarity and guidance, because the heart chakra is the GPS system. It is the vortex in which all spiritual realms are available. When you are open to receive from the divine, actions and motives of others will have less impact on what you are doing, thinking, and who you are becoming and where you are going. You will begin to see these external challenges in relationships with people as opportunities for you to be the hero in your journey, opportunities for you to be in the driver's seat of your own locomotive. I often find myself thinking that I am completely loco because what is considered normal usually isn't my experience. I have experiences oftentimes that I cannot explain, and this happens to most people on a spiritual journey of awakening. Because of that, I feel crazy. Because of the different strategies that I use in my own mind, sometimes I'm talking out loud to different parts of myself, different actors in my stage play, different performers who are taking the microphone and singing their own song with verses in it that I do not approve of, that's not useful. And so out loud, I find myself talking to these different things happening inside of my mind, no matter where I am. And even though I feel a little tiny bit loco in these moments, I feel crazy. And people probably think that I'm loco. But the motive behind it is love. To give love to myself. To release the pattern of being my own bully to my inner child and learning to validate myself, to speak up for myself, against myself. I'm adding a sprinkle of love in between these inner critical dialogues that I have. And that was when I first started seeing how it changed my emotions. And the emotions would lead me to feeling worthy of the things that my heart desired and the things that I am petitioning for, meditating to have, scripting new verses to experience, putting on vision boards, writing it down as it has already happened. My spell work that I do to cast spells over myself of acceptance, of love, of radical faith. You know, we hypnotize ourselves every single day. We cast spells over ourselves with the words that we speak and the words that we allow to be spoken to us inside our auditorium. That ultimately creates our reality 100% more than anything externally. Those things externally can alter the tracks that we are riding and change the next stop, but it does not ever change the destination. It just might take longer for you to get there. You may have to take a detour. You may have to get off that train to get another one because you realize that the thoughts you are thinking, the train of emotions that follow, isn't taking you to the destination where you desire to be or deserve to be. So for us to attract what it is that our heart knows that we deserve, that requires us to see that we have more power over our reality than anybody else does. Even when it doesn't feel like it, that is true. And affirm what's true so that you can connect more to the frequency of love, because the frequency of love is the same as the frequency of truth. And what may feel like love to you in this time may feel like a reason for someone in your life to feel abandoned and rejected. Love for you may be creating more boundaries. However, if you have been codependent and there are people in your life that are very adapted to you managing their life, regulating their emotions, being their cheerleader, inspiring them. And now you realize I don't have enough energy to give to that and the reconstruction that I'm doing in my auditorium. You know, I want the stage to look different. I want the background setting to look different. I want the people participating in my stage play to be different. I'm auditioning. I'm open to audition for some new people that have a similar wavelength, that are like-minded, to come into my story, so I don't have the energy or the time to give to that external thing anymore. So this is the dark side of self-love. This is the dark side of knowing what you are worthy of, because that means that some people won't get the same amount of participation of you in the same way, and that may be upsetting to them. And in the case that you have relationships that were really trauma bonds, relationships that were created around struggle and strife, relationships where the rapport that was created between you and the other person was troubles and problems. You identified with each other, you could relate to each other, but maybe now the way you're approaching your problems and troubles and dealing with them, it might be very different. And because of that, relationships are changing right now. The best thing that you can do is do the best that you can for yourself, show up, and maybe let people in your life know, I'm going through some renovations. I'm going through some major transformations. And there are areas where I have not been loving myself because I was too tired to do so, because I would spend this amount of time doing this for you or that for you, and I'm not able to put as much time into that anymore, or I don't really want to participate anymore in the drama triangle, and this is not me blaming you or me. This is just me being accountable for the energy that I invest my energy into, because that co-creates something, and I prefer to create more love. I got to start with myself first. I got to learn how to be with myself first. I need to soothe myself. I need to rest more often and worry less about what's happening with you or anybody else. And I trust that you can handle whatever is coming up in your life that I used to manage for you. I trust that you can handle that. I know that you can. I know that you got this. Even when you don't, you got this. And I have moments where I don't think I got this. And I would love for you to let me know that you trust that I got this as well. That way we no longer have to exist in a codependent, counterdependent, trauma enmeshment dynamic with each other. And both of us can renovate and evolve and visit each other's auditorium and let me see what upgrades you can put in yours, because we can really trick it out. And I would love to be supported in that, but if you cannot, that's okay too, because I'm not putting an expectation on you, and I know that you're healing as well. You see how that conversation feels very different than being triggered and blaming each other, projecting, and, just in an ego battle with each other. Just battle stance formation. You did this, you didn't do that, I did this, and I should, and you should. It's exhausting. And it's exhausting for a reason. Most of the things that are exhausting to us right now are signals that we've invested more than enough energy and time into whatever that is, and now it's time for us to surrender and let the divine take the wheel. If you enjoyed this content, check out the website newverselive.com. We have blogs to share with you more ways of working with the alchemy of what I call the shadows of life. We have blogs teaching you how to use the products that we sell in our spiritual shop to support you. I am open for doing readings, only for right now. My schedule is open. When it closes, I will send out an email. We have courses that include a sacred space for you to share anything you want, because a lot of us are not venting enough. We're not connecting enough. We're not sharing our experience with others because maybe we feel like we don't have people in our life who will value that. Well, we value that. So you can do that in our community. And there are always surprises and gifts throughout the courses once you complete a module. So that's something to keep you motivated and working through it. I am a product of everything that I teach. So I am not just telling you what I think you should do, but this is what I live every single day. And it is my honor to be in service to whoever is listening to me right now. Namaste. Namaste. One love. Man, your third eye has definitely just been kissed. Ashe. Power to each of you. To continue riding your locomotive, baby. Next stop is Self-Worthville. This has been your intuitive update. Peace.